Perik Yud Aleph, Mishnah Aleph. And the next four prokim we're going to be dealing with Hashem with Kli Matchos, Keli made out of metals. We've done Cheres, that was Perik base to Perik Yud, and now full prokim on metals. Metals are, in a way, the easiest part of Masechta Kelim. But there are a few difficulties, a few complicated bits which Mr. Shem will come through as we do the prokim. First of all, what is a metal? The Torah lists in Parshas Matos 6 metals: gold, silver, and copper, iron, which of course includes steel, and tin and lead. And the poskim have a debate, have a machlokas, whether these 6 metals are prescriptive in the sense that they are, it's got to be those 6 metals. Any other metal is not called matches. Or does metals really mean any metal as we know the word? And there's a tshuva in Moshe Feinstein on this. The tshuva is in Yerodeh Chelik base, Simon Chav base. Now, the Mishnah says, Kli matchos peshutein u'mekableihen tamein. The first rule is that we are not dealing with the concepts, the difficult concepts we had with Cheres about a toich. Kli matchos is actually the simplest form of kelim. It can be a poshut, as the Mishnah says, or a makabel. It doesn't need a toich or a base kibble for it to become tomei. It needs to be made, finished, and we will deal with those the details of what's called made and finished later on in these prokim. So in other words, any kli matchos is makabel tomei. It doesn't matter how big or how small. So knives, forks, cutleries, pots and pans, cars, aeroplanes, boats. Boats and ships have a different din because they could be under the category of sfino, where there's a machlokas where the sfino, all boats are tomei or Torah. That's not the subject matter of this perik. But any size of a kli matchos is makabel tuma. Peshuteinu mekableihen tamein. Says the Mishnah, nishbru taru. Under the normal rule, once it's broken, and of course we'll see later on in these prokim what does broken mean. What determines whether a kli is broken? Once it's broken taru, they become tar. That is the din midoraisa, and that's quite straightforward. Chazav osamen kli. You then go and take the bits, the metal, the broken bits of metal, and you melt it again, and you reform the kli, or even a different kli, even a different shape. Chazru l'tumosan hayishana. Midoraisa, this concept doesn't exist. Midoraisa, once it's broken, it's tar, and that's it. You make it a new kli, it's only mikabel tuma mikan haba, any old tuma falls away. Midrabanon, there were geyser a special din of chazru l'tumosan hayishana. This applies only to matches. It does not apply to cheres, it doesn't apply to eitz or begodim. It's a special din in matches, and the Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Tesayin, Amud Beis, discusses this Gezerah introduced by Shimon ben Shetach. And the Baltanur tells us the reason why the Rabbanon made this Gezerah is because if a person has a kli matchos which is tomei, there are 2 ways he can get rid of the tumah. One is he can break it. Of course, once you break something, midoraisa, it's tar immediately. The other way is you can toivel it. But when you toivel a kli, it doesn't become fully tar. You've still got to wait till shkia, till sunset, and in the period between the tefillah and sunset, between Erev Shemesh, it's called the Tvul Yom, it's still tomei. But people, there's a gezerah. People will get a little bit confused, will get mixed up. They will think, 1 second, when I break something, it becomes tar completely, immediately. When I toivel something, maybe the same din happens, that as soon as you toivel it, it becomes tar completely. And people will forget that it's still tomei till shkia. So in order that people shouldn't rely on breaking to be a complete method of being matara kelim, they said that breaking doesn't help. If you remake the kli after you break it, it's chazur l'tumos hayishana, it gets the old tumah back. You could have asked, then why didn't they just say that after you break a kli, you need Erev Shemesh, just wait till shkia. So Rabbi Akiva brings the Marsho, says that this is a joke, it's a chucha and a tlula to say that you need Herav Shemesh without there having been a mikveh, without there having been a tefillah. So they instead said breaking it helps while it's broken, but if you remake the kli, the tumah comes back. There's other views mentioned in the Gemara and the Rishonim as to how and why this gezerah works, but this is the way the Baal Tanura works, a simple teretz of Rova. Why they only did this gezerah with kli matchus, when the same problem could apply to, for instance, a kli eitz. A kli eitz also becomes tomei when you break it, and you can also be tovel a kli eitz, and then you'd have to wait till shkia. So the same gezerah could have been done for a kli eitz. So the Rash gives a few reasons. The simple reason, the first reason of the Rash is that kli matchus is the only kli which you would break and then expect to reform, to remake it. Other kelim, once you break it, you break them and you can't mend them. Therefore, you would put them in a mikveh. But a kli matchus, by its nature, it's the easiest kli to break and to remelt and remake the kli, and therefore the gzeira is particularly shaykh with matchas as opposed to all other kelim. And we'll deal more with this din of Tumas HaYishana in Mishnah Gimel and other Mishnayos in the Masechta. So, just to recap, there's a din of Tumah HaYishana, which it goes back to the original Tumah, and it applies only to all Kli Matchus, and it is Midrabanon, and the reason is because people will get mixed up between Shavira and Tefillah, and say, just like Shavira doesn't need Herav Shemesh, nor does Tefillah. Mishnah carries on, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Loila Chol Tumah. He has a different reason why there goes a Tumah Yishana. And because of his reason, he says the din of Tumah Yishana is not a Tumah, it's not a Gezerah which applies to all Tumas. Ela la Tumas Hanefesh. It only applies when the Kli became Tomei with the Tumas Mace. Only then do we have the Gezerah Tumah Yishana. Any other Tumah, the normal rule applies that breaking the Kli makes it Toy Legamri. The reason why he holds there's a Gezerah Tumah Yishana is because he holds that they were only worried that people, in the case of Tumas Mace, wouldn't bother to wait the full complement of 7 days. When a Keli is Tomei Tumas Mace, you've got to wait 7 days, and you've got to do Hazor of the Mechatos on day 3 and on day 7. They said people won't wait. They'll just say it's much quicker to break it and then remake the Kli. So because of they said people will completely forget the whole concept of Teras Mechatos. So Kadesh Shaloy Tishtakeach, Teras Mechatos, in order that the whole concept of Mechatos, being Matara Kli for 7 days, day 3 and day 7, shouldn't be forgotten, they said breaking it won't help. It will actually make the Tumah come back. And therefore this way Chazal were hoping to preserve the method of Tara of Teres Mechatos. According to Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, who says that's the reason, this also will fit in with a shitta that Kli Matchos are actually more chomor than other kelim because of the din of Chalal Cherev. There's a machlokes rishonim whether Chalal Cherev applies to Kli Matchos or all kelim. But if you hold that Chalal, which according to this way the Rash learns, that this is what Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel holds, that Klimat Chalal Cherev, which means that when a Keli becomes in contact with a mace, it actually becomes an Avi Avois Hatuma, like the mace itself, and is able to be Matame other Kelim for Shivas Yomim. Because of this particular Chumrah, people certainly won't wait 7 days, they'll break it. This applies to Matchas more than other Kelim, because other Kelim don't have the din of Chalal Cherev, and that's why only in Kli Matchas did they introduce a din of Tumah Yishana, because of K'dei Shaloy Tishtakeach Teiras Meichatos. And that's Mishnah Aleph.